You're listening to Love and Light with Dr. Lisa, Everyday Living in Peace. Day-to-day living can be difficult in our world today, and most people don't know how to live a peaceful, joy-filled existence. The key to this is simple: love. Join me, Dr. Lisa Collins, for the next hour as I unpack and identify the need for a peaceful, love-filled existence by engaging the challenging and hard topics of life. On this show, you will lean into the healing practices that enlarge your spiritual reality through the act of love. This kind of love begins with yourself and your neighbor and transcends age, race, sex, generation, class, and sexual identity. The world changes when we root ourselves in love. Love and Light with Dr. Lisa starts now. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Lisa, and you're listening to Love and Light, living every day in peace on Transformation Talk Radio. Stay with us for the next hour and let us help you experience how to bring more love into your everyday life. You can find me here on the second and fourth Wednesdays at 1 p.m. Pacific, 12 Mountain, 4 Eastern, and we will have tools for living every day in peace. Who among us is living without stress? None of us. Day-to-day living can be so hectic. It is challenging to connect regularly with those we love, including ourselves. And how can we build a better life for us and those around us? Well, you're in for a treat today. Welcome to Love and Light. I'm going to try this. Kumu, did I get that right? Kumu Ramsey Taum, a Hawaiian-born, internationally known transformational leader who was mentored and trained and respected, I'm practicing my pronunciation, kūpuna. Did I get that right?
You got it right, Lisa.
All right. And those are elders. And Ramsey is a practitioner and instructor of several Native Hawaiian practices. And Ramsey is here to enlighten us on Ho'oponopono. Did I get that right?
Ho'oponopono.
Ho'oponopono.
Excellent.
Which is stress and meditation. I'm going to need that today to get myself through my pronunciation. Welcome to Love and Light, Ramsey.
Thank you, Dr. Lisa. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me on.
It is
looking forward
really
to our conversation.
a treat. It is really a treat. Gosh, I was looking at your bio and looking at everything that you've done, being in the Air Force and public administration from USC. And what really popped out for me was the intersectionality of culture and business, like how you were that was one place, and how you're a cultural resource. Many people get to the point where they think, like, if you don't understand my culture, forget about you.
Right.
I'm not going to go there. But here you're leaning into not only culture in other places, but culture also with the travel and leisure and retail business in Hawaii, and also the training that you've done with the elders to bring these native practices to people like me, which I so appreciate, and I'm looking forward to learning from you today.
Well, I'm glad you appreciate it, and others do as well, because we've reached a time where I think we're all returning back to what we call in Hawaii kako, which is the idea of we, the group.
Yes.
We moved into a me time period, maybe for far too long. But with our recent experience with COVID, I like to say, don't waste a good pandemic. It reminded us, because we were all sent to our rooms. Mother sent us to a room to clean up. That's right. And I think we all learned that the heart does grow fonder when we're separated from those down yonder. Right?
Yeah, I love that.
So we all wanted to connect. But what's important is to recognize that we're really all part of a large family. And we may express ourselves and our relationships to our places in different ways. Thus, they call that culture and or customs. But, when we really look at it, we're really all indigenous to the same place, and that's the island Earth. And my perspective, thanks to my elders and those around me, is really how do we get everyone to recognize that one simple thing, that we're all islanders living on an island called Earth, floating in a sea of space, and that if aliens came here and took us off for our own good because the Earth was about to be destroyed, they would refer to us as indigenous Earthling, not indigenous Canadians, Hawaiians, or Americans, but indigenous Earthlings. And if that's the case, then perhaps the best thing for us to do is understand and welcome our cultural differences and diversity, because that's what makes us a rich island community. So my passion, if anything, and perhaps my kuleana, my responsibility, has been that. How do we get people to really acknowledge, even if we have to disagree, to agree to disagree without being disagreeable? So, and I think it's part of what you're doing. It's really comes down to love, which we refer to as aloha. So,
wow.
yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful. We are definitely on the same page, driving on the same bus. We are going in the same direction. And one of the things that I remember when COVID happened and we got sent to our rooms,
Yeah.
is I thought, I didn't know that I loved you so much until you were away from me. Like,
Isn't it amazing?
We are, we are, yes. And I thought, wow, like this is a real time. And I was always thinking, and it came to me, I don't, during COVID, that, oh, my job here is to care for one another, and my separation from you is my Achilles heel.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it affected so many people at different levels. And more importantly, sometimes it was the last time that we actually saw people who were close to us, and it made those farther away from us even more important, because, I knew we experienced it where a family member would be taken in for treatment, and that was the last time we saw them,
Yeah.
and that became quite a desperate time for many people. And I think we're going to have ongoing, lingering impacts from that. If that's the case, how do we create a more welcoming condition? Because, we're not promised another day. So embrace everyone and every moment and every person. And I think that's the value and importance of the work you're doing. I think the work we're all collectively doing, especially around relationships and not just transactions. So
Absolutely. And there's so much I sometimes I talk about, like, I walk through life and all these things Velcro to me. And as I look to be more at peace, I have to take off the Velcro and leave it. And some of that is like really like relational with society, relational with organizations, relational with families or friends or disagreements. And the stress, I think people are really struggling with living day to day without being held by anything.
Right.
And I call it the swirl. And right now, I think the swirl is for some who have not, don't know about you or not listening to this call. I mean, this is like a real difficult time to get grounded.
It really is, because we've been reminded of the uncertainties, right? Every day we open the paper or a web page or the news, we're always reminded, one, about what we lost, what we don't have, what we're about to lose. Hurry up and get it, right? And so despite the fact that many are talking about abundance, they're really talking about it in the lack of it and or the potential loss of it.
Right.
We didn't really ever talk about our true assets of how we got here and what skill sets we actually have to overcome these things. We're always saying we need to buy something else. We need to be, our lives are measured by externalities, right? Rather than what's intrinsic to who we are from our cultural standpoint, spiritual, whatever. And that can really be unsettling, as you said, and the stress, which in so many ways is driven by fear. these days. Everything seems to be about fear. The fear of losing, the fear of not having, not being part of it, the sense of belonging versus a focus on belongings.
Right, absolutely. And I was teaching course last night, and I was talking about being the eye in the middle of the tornado. Like maybe it's
Mm,
happening around you, but you're not in it, and that
right.
you're settled and calm. And I think that is what people are really looking for. They don't even know that they're looking for it. They are looking for something
Right.
to fix them, but they're the ones they're looking for. Like,
Yeah, exactly. I like to call it a cultural reboot. We
yeah,
live in a time of this, technology and computers, hardware and software. And if I can borrow from that, I'd like to suggest that the base operating system that is within all of us, that connects us to our places, Mother Earth, if you would, has been disrupted by software that is incompatible with that
yes,
base operating system. So we keep crashing the system, the one around us as well as the one in us. So we're always searching, always looking. And in the absence of having that internal compass, we start following maps that are either out of proper orientation or are actually intended to take us to places that we really don't want to go, right? But in the absence of having an internal compass or a vision or a destination, a preferred condition, we just follow along with the rest of the herd because that's important to us. I want to be part of the group. I want to belong. And I think that's one of the things I'm hearing and experiencing when I'm out sharing and sharing and others are sharing with me is that's the message. They said, we want what we perceive you to have, which is a sense of belonging or a sense of knowing, which I find quite compelling uh, because I think we all belong someplace, and as much as people refer to Maslow's hierarchy of needs and all, every culture had something like that. And when we homogenize it, sometimes we lose the value and import of those particular cultural practices that I think we can all learn from and all benefit from. So thus I
absolutely.
lean into that.
Yeah, I love that. Well, it's time for a break. So
Great.
quickly, that happened so fast. You're listening to Love and Light with me, Dr. Lisa, and our guest, Ramsey Tatum, Hawaiian-born, internationally known transformational leader who is here to help bring some light to us about healthy living. We'll be right back. We're back on Love and Light, living every day in peace, and my guest, Ramsey Taum.
Thank you.
Taum, not Tatum, a Hawaiian born, internationally known transformational leader who uses Native Hawaiian practices to enlighten healthy living for everyone. But before we continue, I want to make sure everyone knows how to contact you, Ramsey. Could you give us some contact information for the listeners?
Yeah, sure. I'm very fortunate to have a uh, what we call kako, a sporter, happens to be my daughter, Remy. And she's created most of my social media stuff for me because I wouldn't know what to do about that. But there's a web page, ramseytaum.com. That's with a Taum and Ramsey spelled with an AY, ramseytaum.com. I'm also on Facebook. And I guess she has me in all the social media. There's
He
also
does. I saw
Twitter.
you on Instagram as well.
And so, although I have to admit, she probably manages it better than I do. But
Well,
yes,
I
yeah,
have a
so have
daughter
them
that
feel
does
free to
the
reach.
same. Yep. If it wasn't for her, I don't know if I'd have all that stuff either.
Yeah, thank you.
Awesome. So on the break, we were talking about people having something to ground to something that has an
Yes,
anchor, some kind of anchor, and you called it belonging.
right. Yeah, I've like I suggested earlier in my conversations and sharing in various places across the island Earth. That's the one common thing I hear is people saying, uh, we're seeking that belonging, that sense of identity. And when our identities are wrapped up and defined by external items, whether it's a sign, a car, the belongings we wear, our clothing, that give us membership to that group. That's a false sense of membership. when we're really looking for something deeper. So I'd suggest what we're experiencing is a diaspora, not just physically from our places of origin, but also for the spiritual diaspora of something
Yes.
much deeper. And I would suggest that, or experience that during COVID and other challenging times like this, in the absence of having that internal compass, that thing to guide you, falling upon or relying on external things to ground you, it puts us in a perpetual state of being lost every time those things move or change.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I'm looking at a stone as my marker, and the next day that stone is removed by development, I no longer have that marker. And many of us in various culture groups have relied on those things. When we went home, it used to be by that church next to the tree, next to the rock,
Right.
right?
Right.
When those things are
Mm-hmm.
gone, what do you refer to? And I like to
Mm-hmm.
suggest people are like that. There used to be an elder, and he would sit here and he would tell us these stories. In the absence of the elder, then who is the keeper of that wisdom and story?
Right.
So to establish a sense of certainty within ourselves, to find that constant, and we can call it God, the cosmos, nature, love, whatever that is. In the absence of having that, I don't know how people really do it anytime they're dealing with, as you said, stressors of different magnitudes. I've often shared with those I'm working with, I find myself in different places. I may not know where I may be at, but I never consider myself lost, simply because I do know where I belong. And I belong to a culture, I belong to a place, I belong to a philosophy, I belong to something much greater. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I may be in a place that I haven't been before, but I have this thing that I can draw upon. And that sense of belonging gives me some confidence to explore, to experience the new, because there's always something that I can attach it to. And if I can't, then I can always look back and make a connection. So knowing where I came from allows me to then to move forward to the next place,
Yeah.
and measure the change, if anything. And
Right.
if I do get lost, I can at least I have a touchstone I can go back to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You're tethered.
that's right. Or I can bring it forward if I need be. I don't know that we can
Right.
really go back anywhere, but
Mm-hmm.
I think we can pull it forward and carry it with us, which is probably as important as it is just knowing where we've come from. For some of us, those places are literally physically gone.
Yeah.
So we have to renew ourselves, renew our connections, whether it's a place or a person or a principle for that matter. Right?
Right.
Yeah. So
The constant, yeah, renewing and cycling of, but
that's right.
the core, or at least for me, the depth of knowing what I know, and knowing that deep love and care that I have, and that's always available to me, is really is a cornerstone. It is a cornerstone. And when the world is swirling, um the world is swirling.
Yeah. Well, I think you drew upon it earlier. You know, it's being able to be in a hurricane without any intention of stopping it or changing it, but being able to walk through it or exist in it. So whether the hurricane is an argument with your best friend or a hurricane is a literal environmental experience, to find that place within ourselves to endure, to go through, as they say, if when you find yourself in hell, keep on going, right?
Yeah, keep walking.
Keep walking, right? Same idea. Ho'oponopono and the practices that we're going to talk about, they're really about that. It's really not about changing others. It's not about changing the environment. It's about finding the comfort within oneself to respect the fact that a storm is a storm, right? And eventually, when the storm passes, everything uh, is settled. We may need some cleaning up, but at the end of the
Right.
day, it's a moment that we need to get through. And I think these practices that our elders have shared with us uh, are as important as uh, the new knowledge coming up. It's the
Mm-hmm.
wisdom of the past that allows
Right.
us to embrace the new knowledge. In the absence of that wisdom, we may know a lot, but we may not understand it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So, how would I start if I'm brand new? I know nothing. I know
Yeah,
a little bit. I know a little bit.
yeah. Well, the concept of Ho'oponopono, the principle is really to make right, put things in proper order. So it is about order. It's not about fixing. And I think that's an important principle. We're not trying to fix bad. And that's usually when people turn to some practices like these because they call them stress management or problem solving. I like to suggest Ho'oponopono at its root is really about creating new or preferred conditions. So we don't fix the bad, we create a preferred condition, which means
Preferred condition.
releasing old criteria that continues to support the bad.
Ah, belief
See?
systems.
That's right.
Okay.
So most of our challenges and our stresses is because at some point in time, what we believe in, what we have faith in, is now being challenged. It it didn't live up to what our expectations. I expected you to do this and you did it. Therefore, I've been hurt. I'm upset. But it was an expectation, right?
Yes.
And sometimes those expectations aren't really expressed, that they're imagined, they're perceived, they're expected, they're
Right.
assumed, right? And that belief in that is really the cause of that disconnect, that dis-ease, that disorder. So Ho'oponopono allows us to then release and erase those expectations and actually replace them with something more true, something more accurate. And that is part of it. The other part of it is, and I shared this with you and our listeners today, your listeners today, to ask this question. Would you exercise this with me? Do it with me so that
Oh,
they
absolutely.
yeah. So uh, repeating after me. What is it about me
What is it about me
that allows me
that allows me
to see in you
to see in you
what bugs me
what bugs me
about you?
about you?
What is it about me that allows me to see you, this condition, in such a way that I'm triggered to be angry, fearful,
Mm,
upset, avoidant,
okay.
whatever it
All
is that
right.
about, right? In other words, what am I bringing to the situation that is
Mm-hmm.
causing this person, who everyone else seems to get along with, bother me in such a way that now I have to get everyone to commiserate with me about him or her,
That's right. That's right.
right? And
Boy.
so, and Ho'oponopono is really about looking at self and recognizing
Mm-hmm.
that, yeah, this person might be a butthead, but my responsibility isn't to change the butthead, right?
Right.
It's how I engage and what message is this relationship that's in front of me, allowing me then to shift. Because once that happens, then I no longer need this stimulus. I no longer need this person or this condition. And they can go on and be someone else's pain in the neck, right?
Once
But
I
in that,
heal me.
that's right. Once I heal me,
Once I heal
because
me.
yeah, in other words, every person, every experience is a mirror. It's a lesson. It's a teacher. As the student is ready, the teacher appears,
Mm-hmm.
right? And sometimes that's a condition. It doesn't have to be a person. But if we find ourselves in those conditions on a regular basis, we obviously haven't learned the lesson, right?
And I always say when you learn the lesson, you can turn the page. I always want to learn the lesson so I can turn the page and I won't be stuck.
Exactly. And unfortunately, many of us tear the page out, never really reading it.
Let's get rid of it.
And get rid of it, right? So unfortunately, the next magazine or the next book comes in, has that page in it again.
Oh
So
no.
right. And so I have students and friends says, but Kumu, this person is just like the last person, or the boss at this place is treating me the same way as the last. It
As the
must be a
last
conspiracy.
boss.
It must be a conspiracy.
They're out to get me for sure.
And so when I hear this, I have a problem with him. I have a problem with her. I have a problem with this. I said, yes, you have a problem,
Yes.
right?
This way.
It's way, right? And so this reframing of that question. So what is it that I have brought to this situation
What have I brought?
from my memory? What have my ancestors given me? What is my society? What is my school? What's my training and upbringing? What have I brought into the situation that allows me to be triggered by your words, by your actions, by the aromas, by the colors because everyone else seems to be okay, right?
Right.
So
There is that.
are they all wrong, or what is it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
again, it's not embracing wrongness, incorrectness. It's just saying that it's inappropriate. And that's a foundational word in Hawaiian, pono. Pono is to be appropriate, relevant. Under this moon, this sun, we do this. In 2 days from now, we'll do something different. But if I want to keep doing this on that day, I may run into a problem.
Absolutely.
And we do that with people. We do that with conditions. We want something to be this way all the time,
Yeah.
regardless of the fact that those conditions may require a different way of interacting, a different way of relating. But because I want it my way, we end up creating this conflict, an internal one, if not an external one. And that's why people go to war, right?
Right.
Yeah. Those little battles
Wow.
within that produce the wars outside. So it's an inside job.
Wow. Wow. Time for a break.
All right.
Wow. You're listening to Love and Light with me, Dr. Lisa, and my guest, Ramsey Taum. We'll be right back. Hello, we're back. We're back with me, Dr. Lisa, and I have Ramsey Taum here, who is a Hawaiian-born, internationally known transformational leader who uses Native Hawaiian practices to enlighten healthy living for all. But before we continue, we'll one more time check in with Ramsey about where can people find you if they're looking for you. How do they get in contact with you?
Well, hopefully, wherever my feet are, you find me there. RamseyTaum.com. That's RamsayTaum as in me. RamseyTaum.com. Or at Facebook, I'm there, Ramsey Taum, Kumu Ramsey. You can also find me. Instagram and Twitter, most of the social media platforms. Thanks to my daughter, Remy, by the way.
All right, she gets big props.
I have to give credit where it's due, because otherwise,
same here.
I'm King Kong on the keyboards when it comes to that.
That's awesome. That is awesome. We are having an amazing conversation, and it so resonates with me about many of my experiences. Many of my healing experiences have been not so much of what the other person is doing, but what is going on with you, like what's in your field, what's in your belief system, what is it that you need to, Velcro take away.
That's right.
So that you can live in peace. Tell us more about, if there's someone like, first of all, how did you get trained? I mean, I know the elders worked with you, like, did you have an awareness or an awakening? Like, what happened?
That's a really good story, and it's a lengthy one. But the basics are brought up in a very spiritual, religious family and a culture where everything had some spiritual underpinning. And at the risk of leaving one world to be in another, learning how to live in both worlds, multiple worlds at the same time. And that kind of introduced me to other elders, others who navigated a path like that. So I was fortunate to be mentored by numerous elders, we call kūpuna. And let's just say it's 10. There were more of them, but let's just stop at 10. The majority of them were all in their 80s or into their 90s as they prepared for transition. And so my experience is now 800 years of experience coming from these elders, right? And so they were my friends, they were my mentors, they were my teachers, and sometimes even tormentors. You learn from your tormentors as much as you do your mentor. And through that association, and in some cases, helping them as a caregiver or a supporter, the reciprocity was that they were sharing with me. And in some cases, I was the last person standing. Everyone else went out to play. And by my upbringing, my, caring for your elders, being, polite, protective, etc., just by being present, I received the gifts of that wisdom and knowledge, if anything, because they had no place else to put it, or they determined that perhaps this knucklehead is somebody that could take it and use it. So I'm very grateful for that. And I've had multiple experiences, both in the linear and the circular worlds, professional, governance, community. But at the end, it all comes down to relationships, and the relationships built in those places, guided by these values, principles, and yes, even when we saw Ike, the wisdom of these elders, um, have really been very supportive and enabling. So, as my mother reminded me once, they didn't give this to me to be put in a box and stored in some safe somewhere,
Mm.
but to be shared. And so that's been much of my life, has been sharing and expressing as they did with me at some point. Otherwise, like they say, when we lose an elder, we don't lose a book, we lose a library. And
Hmm.
I've been fortunate
Absolutely.
to be been in many libraries, you know.
Wow, what
So
a great honor. I mean,
yeah,
just amazing. And that they all walk with you as you continue to um, help transform this world that needs so much love and care. And I see the energy rising um, in the new age. I don't know if people know that there's a new age coming,
right.
that that you're on the forefront of this work is really exciting. I feel very honored
Yeah,
to be able to sit and talk to you about it.
I'm fortunate too that I see around me, including in my own family with my daughter, the entering of new souls. Well, maybe old souls is coming in a new time. So
Hmm.
these babies, right?
Right.
And I subscribe to the idea that they probably have seen what they're entering into, and they're
Yeah,
still
they
coming.
know. Yeah, they're
So
coming to help.
yeah, that gives me hope, right? Because
Yes.
otherwise, when they stop coming, that means oh, you know.
Oh, that's right.
But with all these new babies coming in, they've got to be coming in with some knowledge or wisdom, and
Yeah.
ours is maybe to get out of the way, but create a safe place for them to land.
Hmm.
And so I'm honored in that way that I can see and experience this new energy coming on
Yeah.
onto
Yeah.
the planet right now,
I
right when
love
we need
that.
so
Right when we
part of
need it. That,
part of our
yeah, the
job
age of innocence. Yeah. I love
is,
it.
is to
I love
listen,
it.
pay attention, and as I tell my daughter, thanks for choosing me. Right.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, my daughter, she's 29, Taylor, who is an amazing soul herself,
Yeah.
is just transcends, just transcends. And so I look forward to watching, as a parent. I know, I don't know how you use this as a parent, but as a parent, I have four kids. The
Mm,
oldest one's 34, the youngest is 11. And as a parent, there's a time where you step back and you talk about unconditional love. You're loving your kids, and they're living out their purpose. And sometimes it's they're having hard knocks or on the same page over and over, and
right.
it's hard to watch.
Yeah, it really is. But that's where the true love comes in. They said unconditional love. And I told that to my daughter early on. I said, look, there are going to be days or times when we may not agree. I may disagree with your choices, as did my parents with mine. But it won't ever stop me from loving you, right? That's an important component. So understand that, right? That I'll always love you. We may disagree, and we're going to have to get through those, but it's out of that mutual respect for one another and the fact that we're learning. And frankly, I'm probably going to disagree with you because I've already instilled in you the ability to challenge me for what I believe in. Right? So it's really my fault.
Right,
So we'll start
absolutely.
there. We'll start there. It's my fault that I disagree with you, and you are doing exactly what you're trained to do. Right? So, yeah.
That's great. So if there's someone listening today and they said, "Well, I could really benefit,"
Mm,
what would be the first thing that they would do? Like, lead us through. Um, I know you do individual coaching, you do group
yes.
coaching. Um, tell for someone who's starting out and never heard of kind of this introspection of inside of themselves. Well, what steps would they take?
Well, one I think is to shift or start in adopting a belief system in oneself. I was recently at Aniwa, a gathering of elders, and I actually had a young man come up to me and ask me, Kumu, what should I believe in?
Hmm.
And that was quite, a hit in the head. And so I asked him, where is that coming from? It's because he's chasing all these shiny objects. It's this practice, it's that practice, it's a mix and match of this and that, right? And my response to him is maybe start believing in yourself first. Yeah. And I would like to suggest that to anyone who's questioning is that presume there is something greater, that we are an extension of that. Let's start there. And that we have been given the tool sets necessary to engage the world around us. I don't think we would have been sent here in the absence of that. Embrace those first, and then begin to trust that the fact that you're even asking the question means that there's an answer somewhere. You can't ask a question you don't have an idea that there's an answer to. So that introspection begins to rely on that. Now, if your ideas and criteria of decision making is based on other people's concepts, then that's a place to start. Ask yourself, why do I make these decisions? Or where is this coming from? And then perhaps reach out to someone, a guide or someone else who has been down the path. I'm a guide. I didn't define the path. I've walked the path, right? And if I can show you where the pitfalls are or how to get over something, then that's great. But I'm certainly not going to define what it is you do on that. Like a Sherpa who takes people to the top of the mountain. He didn't create the mountain or the path. He just knows how to navigate it. And he's been there before. So find someone that has been there before. And if it's not an elder, then it's a companion who is open to sharing that with you. But I think the first thing is to redefine, reframe, and refocus. Kind of ask yourself, what is it that's bothering me and why? And how is this person or this thing a mirror of that? And recognizing that oftentimes when we're most greatly disturbed by someone, and usually someone close to us, is because they're reminding of us and the things we don't like about ourselves, right? So
Yes, absolutely.
It's really a mirror. And if everyone is a mirror, if we can find the beauty in them, then we can find the beauty in ourselves. Like I say, it is an inside job.
It is.
And it starts, I think it starts there. It starts inside.
Wow. That's a tough one. I've been mentored by many, many wonderful people, and that is the message that I received. It is an inside shower, dear. And an
That's
inside
right.
shower. What does she mean by that?
Yeah.
And
Well, oftentimes we mistake busyness for productivity. And we also mistake the idea that when I've cleaned someone else's backyard, I've cleaned my own. And oftentimes, it's simply a distraction. And, they say, doctor, heal thyself. Well, everybody wants to be a healer. But I find that healers are really revealers, not healers. We all heal ourselves. Once it's been revealed to us, whatever that ailment, disease, or disorder, what the root is and how to remove that. And unfortunately, many people seek these paths to do little about healing themselves, but they automatically want to become the healer for other people. And they really haven't done it for themselves yet, right? So they wear our paint, they sing our songs, they wear our clothes, but they really haven't done the internal healing. And they mislead themselves and others by saying, hey, you don't have to climb the mountain. Let me tell you what's up there, which really robs everyone, including yourself, the experience of whatever that is. And so I think part of it is acknowledging that we have the gifts of culture, we have the gifts of these other things, but we don't have to own them to benefit from them. And I think that would be a message to all those who are seeking, who don't have their own per se. Before you adopt and maybe even take someone else's culture practice to make it your own, maybe find your own, honor your own divinity, right?
Nice.
And take responsibility for that. And don't blame someone else's because it doesn't work for you.
All right, hold on to that thought. We'll be right back. Wow, great conversation. We'll be right back. We are back. We are back to Love with Love and Light with me, Dr. Lisa. We're talking to Ramsey Taum, this amazing conversation we're having about really looking at ourselves and living a healthier life that way. If you are looking to contact Ramsey, he will tell you where's the best way that people can contact you.
Once again, you can reach me at ramseytaum.com. That's RAMSAYTAUM as in Michael.com. And you can also find me on Facebook at Kumu Ramsey, Instagram, and I believe there's a Twitter account as well. But again, thanks to my daughter Remy for doing all that.
Awesome.
And I'm fortunate I get to speak in various places. So there's always public events, private events. My keynote experience, I speak at different trainings and things. So there are different ways of engaging, whether it's individual, personal, family, stakeholder groups, those kinds of things. So.
Nice. Do you have something coming up in the next few months or so that people could look for you, or is there anything that's coming up that people could?
Yeah, we're looking at a training, a retreat actually here in Hawaii in the spring.
That sounds lovely.
Yeah, and nobody wants to come to Hawaii in the spring, so
count me in.
It's called Remembering the Future, and it grounds people in what I call that culture reboot again. So it's not a cognitive as much as it's experiential in Hawaii. We call it huakai, an excursion of the soul, if you would. That's one way. Then I also have individual sessions that it's just a function of time. I like to say, spend a day with me, which is really 24 hours. And over a period of 24 hours, we'll see what can change or what can move. So if someone's interested in that, my daughter would be glad to help set them up on that. But I like to say, spend a day and change your life with me, and we'll go from there. But I'm going to be speaking at Brown University
nice.
coming up in November. I'll be there for a week. They're creating what I call a Kumu in Residence program, and I'll be sharing.
Really?
We're kind of encouraging the idea of wisdom keepers being brought into the classroom and beginning to tie wisdom and knowledge together.
I love that.
Because I think knowledge is moving faster and it's not keeping up with the wisdom or moving beyond wisdom.
Yeah.
Especially since we've put our elders away someplace else.
Right.
We no longer benefit from that. And given the number of gray hairs, I'm kind of stepping into that elder space here.
I think I can step into that spot too.
That's when they start calling me kūpuna. I said, okay, I've crossed the line somewhere. So there's that. Then I'll also be at Colorado University at Boulder the following week.
Nice.
So that's a couple weeks. And in both locales, both in Providence as well as Boulder, I will be doing some workshops in Ho'oponopono and the Hawaiian battle art called Lua. And so, if they want to find me there, but I think most of the information will be on my webpage.
That's beautiful. I mean, I'm just thinking already, like Hawaii sounds good.
Yeah,
Hawaii sounds good. I would love to enlighten myself even more, and learn from and continue to learn from an elder. I have plenty of elders.
If I may, though, I do want to emphasize that I don't go where I'm not invited. So I don't promote. I had a young man on another podcast that how do I balance the difference between the message and promoting the message? And the reality is I don't promote. I don't advertise, I don't market. And this is usually because others have said, hey, we heard this, we'd like you to come to speak. So, I mean, if people are interested and they'd invite me to come to their places, I will. But I'm not on the corner with a sandwich board and saying, hey, Kumu for hire type of thing. People ask me what I want to talk about. I really don't want to talk about anything. Pizza, maybe, but what would you like to hear? And then I try to get out of the way and just let divinity and the kūpuna and elders kind of feed me. And then from that point, and oftentimes I'll sit and listen to it later. Says, wow, where did that come from? I've never heard that one.
Exactly.
And so
yes,
I hope by being in that space, it's perhaps more authentic. It's not.
Yes.
So I didn't come on today with a specific, I gotta say this.
Right.
It's that type of
Yeah, I
thing.
think that we're similar in that way. And it seems like the places where people are asking me to come, I don't have anything canned to tell you.
Yeah,
But I do want to hear about you and see how I could best support and help you on your journey. And I feel right sized doing that. And it is a spiritual journey for me. So wherever I'm called, I do go. If I'm supposed to be there.
right,
And when I get there, sometimes I don't know where that came from.
right.
Most times I don't know because I that's the space I like to work in.
Same here. I think that's why I emphasize this notion of healing is revealing. If I can uncover something that's you can see, either you don't step in or you pick it up one way or another. But I'm not going to give it any more meaning than you have for it. It's not what
Right.
it means to me. It's what's more important than what means to you. And I think that comes down to criteria. Again, what criteria of decision making? Uh, what is negative or positive? And in a world today where I've never been so positive about being negative, right? When you take a test, sorry, Mr. Tom, you're positive. Oh, that's a bummer, right? Versus negative, yay.
Right.
Yeah, 3 years ago, that would not be
Right.
the weight we've put on these words and these
Mhm.
terms. Where
Yeah,
I'm positively
absolutely.
negative today. So
Yeah, absolutely. Words make a difference.
really do. And we say it in Hawaii, words can give life and words can take life. You can lift someone up or you can dash them to the floor.
Absolutely.
Choose your words wisely and guard your thoughts and your emotions.
Yes.
Say, seeds of thought are watered by the emotions of heart.
Mm.
When you open your mouth, you give them life on the life giving breath we call ha. And you
Oh,
can't take them back once they leave your teeth.
right.
They're out there, and all
Hmm.
your words, your deeds, your actions, once manifested, you can't take them back. So, even more so, be kind,
Yeah.
be
Be
gentle,
kind.
be caring, yeah, be
Hmm.
patient. All of
Hmm.
those things that our grandmothers told her when we what told us.
Absolutely. Because she absolutely did tell me all of those things. Grandma was right. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, and when I didn't listen, she pulled on this ear. So if it looked a little longer, you know why.
Wow. So I know that listeners are thinking about, really centering yourself and reframing, kind of like taking an assessment of where you are. And I've heard people talk about this practice of ho'oponopono,
Mhm.
uh, that it's like loving yourself and thanking yourself and forgiving yourself. But I
Mhm.
think that's a reframing that may not be appropriate. I don't know if it's
Yeah, no, thank
exactly.
you for that. Yeah, you're right. In the world of that we live in, most times we're looking for singularity, shortcuts. And so though there are four phrases that have evolved as a result of that practice. When in reality, the process itself is that a process that you go through, a process of cleansing, releasing, letting go. And the mantras and these statements that have now come out to be used, I love you, thank you, all those four mantras that people use. Um, if you're not aware of the background work, they just kind of reframe things, right? But you haven't really done anything. So the example would be walking into your kitchen and you find a pile of dirt on the floor and you walk up to you and say, thank you, I'm sorry, I love you, forgive me. It's not likely that that pile of dirt's going to leave the room anytime. In fact, it will probably want to stay now that you've made it feel welcome. In fact, it might call some of its friends to come and join it. And with tongue embedded in my cheek here, I guess what I'm saying is, you're not saying that to a person or a condition. You're really speaking to yourself. You're
Hmm.
speaking to that inner self, that child within you that has been either neglected or been the source of the problems that you're now facing.
Hmm.
And what you're asking forgiveness is of self, right? That has been revealed as a result of dealing with someone. So if John across the room makes me angry, I'm not necessarily going to ask John for forgiveness. At some point, I will, but I have to ask myself for
Right.
forgiveness. And at some point, I ask him to forgive me for whatever I've done that created a condition that allowed me to see you do this. Because had that not been in the world, then it wouldn't be in front of me. And so the
Right.
concept is, once it's in my field, someone asks me a question, then I have to look at myself as, what is it about me that brought that question out? Because right now, in as much as this may be bothersome, it's a lesson for me. And if I get this question 3 or 4 times this week, it's really about me. It's not about them anymore, right? They happen to be the delivery service. And I have to look at myself. So Ho'oponopono is that. So when you're saying thank you, I love you, forgive me, you're really speaking to yourself. And then the extension of that, when I do Ho'oponopono with large groups, it's always, please forgive me and my ancestors for whatever we've done to create a condition in your life that brought us together to this day, this moment, this time, so that we could clean that up. And in reciprocity and aloha, please, me and my ancestors forgive you and your ancestors for whatever it is you did, word, deed, or action, inaction, intentionally or unintentionally, that created a condition that brought me to this room, to this space right now, so that you and I could talk. We can let that go. It is in that reciprocal relationship of letting go, forgiving our ancestors as everyone else. We literally change the future because we've changed the past. Right?
That's amazing.
It's a very
Ramsey,
powerful.
thank you so much.
Does that make
We
sense?
are out of time. It totally
I'm
makes
sorry.
sense. And it is, wow, it is so powerful. Thank you for coming onto the show.
Thank you
I
for
know
having me.
I am totally my mind is blown. We are out of time. Join us next time, and you remember, treat yourself like your best friend. What an amazing job.
Aloha.
Thank you so
Aloha.
much. I so appreciate it. Thanks for listening to Love and Light with me, Dr. Lisa, Everyday Living in Peace. You spent the last hour engaging in challenging and transformational conversations, all for the purpose of living a peaceful, joy-filled existence. Join me next time to continue growing in love and light through healing practices and acts of love. To learn more or work with me, Dr. Lisa, visit educationthroughengagement.com. That's educationthroughengagement.com. Remember, the world changes when we change by coming home to love. Tune in every second and fourth Wednesday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, here on transformationtalkradio.com.